welcome back to the YouTube channel of Pro Enzo Vidz, and this is the Ankle Breaker Podcast, episode 61. And tonight I am joined by regular co-host All That Champer, and tonight's special guest on the channel for the very first time, TJC Sports. TJC, very first time on the YouTube channel. How are you, mate? And welcome to the podcast. Hope it's a good first show for you.
Oh, mate, I'm looking forward to it. Been watching this one for a little bit now, so it's good to finally be on, mate. Even if I have to deal with having one of my least favourite kinds of supporters, Pro Enzo, as the host.
Here we go.
Mate, I'll survive, all right? Let's get into it, okay? Gonna be good.
For sure. No, it's good to have you on, bro. It's good to have you on. I'm sure we'll have to do more collabs in the future, but
100%, mate.
Great to have
Remember,
you on.
the DMs are always open.
That's it. And Champa, how are you, brother? Good to have you on the podcast yet again.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Being back on. We've got some great topics. TJC, welcome to the podcast. Yeah, we've got some topics in, and obviously there's one topic I might explode at, but I'll save that for when we get to there. But geez, not a happy weekend it was for me. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah. I'm ready for a good episode nonetheless.
That's it. Yeah, well that segment's gonna get crazy, I reckon. So whatever you say, Champa, I'm gonna let you just hit the spotlight until then. Yep. So
it's Champa's segment.
That's it. But yeah, episode 61 of the podcast. Look, obviously the podcast is getting better and better over time, and obviously, hopefully, the people watching right now can go and subscribe to the YouTube channels of TJC Sports and All That Champer. If you haven't already, don't know what you're doing, you should go and subscribe to them instantly. Both channels are linked in the description down below, so please be sure to check them out if you haven't already. But look, I'm expecting you all to have done that by now. But we're going to live chat and see who's here. So currently 6 people watching in the space of 2 minutes. So nice to see a bit of a crowd, I guess, build up a bit. And in the chat, we've got Warriors NRL Fanatics. How are you, Fanatics? Jason Reader, even TJC in the chat saying, "How here we go, lads." Okay. Good to see TJC in the live chat. Good to see TJC in the live chat. Got Nick from Australia. How are you, bro? Viking King and CJ Moxley. And it's good to have a good crowd tonight. So I do appreciate everyone that's so far come in and is tuning into the podcast. I really do appreciate it. But boys, I guess we'll go and get into the very first sort of segment of the podcast. So we'll go through our, I guess, rounds 14 review. So we'll talk about the week it was and our thoughts on the round itself. Obviously 3 teams had the bye, including my Eagles and TJC's Eels and the Knights as well. But the round itself, there were a lot of interesting games, a lot of games that, well, there's not a week now, we don't go without controversy. So I guess we will definitely have to have a say in terms of that. But I'll start with your first, Champa. Round 14, I know Tigers had a loss and it was obviously a very tough one to take. But as for how the whole round went, what did you make of it?
It was a very strange round. A lot of teams that I didn't think were going to win actually ended up winning. I did not expect Cowboys to put 45 points on the Storm, and they managed to do that. So that was very surprising. Roosters and Bulldogs, that game was down to the wire. Even Penrith Dragons, that game as well was a bit surprising, with Dragons putting in a good performance against Penrith. Other than that, I feel like it was a very entertaining round of footy. Gold Coast choking in their second half is always a great thing to see. Always love seeing that. Look, Tigers Canberra, fuck. That was adrenaline place. Let me just tell you that right now. When we start scoring in that second half, heart started pumping like fucking crazy. I'll tell you that. And, the Warriors, fuck. How good are they going?
Crazy.
Sean Johnson is unfucking real. He has definitely wind the clock back 10 years. But other than that, I enjoyed round 14. I thought it was a fucking banger. Seriously, the rounds are just banger after banger after banger. And I fucking love it. Honestly, this might be, I'm calling it right now. We're at round 14. We're like halfway through the season. I'm calling it right now. This could be probably one of the most entertaining seasons of fucking footy we have seen in a long time. I'm calling it right now. Definitely. The season is tight. It's close. You can be second and you can drop straight down to seventh. The teams are just so close to each other. It's such a close competition, and it brings entertaining footy to watch. So I can't complain. Round 14 was fucking amazing.
No, well said, Champa. And it's good to hear you say that despite the Tigers losing. So no, that's good. You rate round 14 as high as that, and Sean Johnson is turning back the clock for sure. I think that's a sore sight for the Warriors fans to see how good SJ is playing. So it's it's good to see Sean Johnson being playing that well. So Warriors fans should be very proud of that. TJC, what was your thoughts on the round, mate? Obviously, Eagles weren't playing, had to buy, but as round 14 as a whole, what did you make of it?
Honestly, dude, when I was heading into this round, I was just thinking, at the end of the day, it's a free 2 points, just going to cruise through it. But far out, it's been a very interesting and entertaining round, dude. I loved most of these games. I mean, Tigers-Raiders was really boring for me until the final, 12 minutes, and then it became one of the best games ever of the year. The comeback there. And as we know, we'll get into a topic later about that one. And then, the Warriors, mate, let's just call out here, bloody Sean Johnson. I'm with Champa on that one. He's fucking amazing this year. It's been one of his best seasons. Dude, he's going back to he's in his prime. He's back in his freaking prime, the dude. Unfreaking believable. And then Titans Bunnies, all I've got to say is let's go. The Titans lost. Go the Bunnies. Go the Bunnies for that one, bro. I bet CJ and that loved it. Broncos, Sharks. Broncos are just the freaking daddies of the Sharks. It's just the case of the last 11 games that they've played against each other. And then Roosters, Bulldogs, controversial, tight to the wire. One or two decisions that both teams didn't agree with, but they move on. At the end of the day, the Roosters had to fight hard for that win, and they got it. And then Cowboys Storm, 45 points, mate. You can't concede 45 points and go that there was any issue with the ref or anything. You just did not deserve the win, Storm, that night. The Cowboys, freaking Valame, I think his name is. Fuck, Valame.
He's crazy, bro.
And Panthers Dragons, obviously, probably was closer because Cleary went off, but congrats to the Panthers on that win. We all kind of expected. Great round, very competitive. Could be one of the best seasons in a long time if it keeps it up, mate. We're only halfway almost.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, for sure. It's been a round like no other. I think we've seen some good rounds in the past, but I think 2023 is shaping up to be a round where it's full of unexpected results and just full of uncertainty. Well, in a good way, uncertainty, because no one, is safe for a game anymore. You don't go ahead and think that you're a for sure winner. It can go either way. So I like that. It's great to see. But I agree with what you both said there. I think the round was good itself, and like I said before, obviously a bit of controversy again with a few, I guess, decisions that were made across the weekend. But I think the game quality of all the games were normally pretty well. I think a few games that I liked across the weekend, I know people were saying Tigers and Raiders was boring, but I actually liked the game itself for some reason. I know it wasn't, I guess, incredible, but I think just because, it was close, and I think that there were a few stand-up plays in that game. I was like, you know what, not the worst game of footy. I've seen a lot worse. In games like, I guess, the Cowboys beating the Storm, well, the question is, are the Cowboys back? Are they back after the slow starts of the year? I mean, putting 45 in the Storm is never an easy task to do. I know Storm have been a bit disappointing this year, but what Cowboys have done, it's pretty incredible. But yeah, I guess while the other games, they were good, and I think it backs up to the reason why this season's been, I guess, such a good season in general. So hopefully, the rest of the season remains the same. And no, I got to agree. Round 14 was a good round. Obviously, we will tuck into our I guess player of the week soon. But far out, Simi Valame, what a player! Seriously, that's one of the best club debuts that I've ever seen, isn't it?
Mate, especially for the Cowboys. Shit, it was amazing. What were you going to say, Champa? You were going to say something for a second.
I say, yeah. For club debuts, it's really hard to think of who had a better one, but yeah, that's right up there. I have to say, definitely right up there.
Top 10 for my memory, top 10. It's ridiculous.
100%. No, he was great, Semi Valame. So yeah, maybe we'll keep a spot in that Cowboys team. But yeah, as we do move on now, we will get into our player of the week now. So as I think there is a few players to choose from this week, as there's a lot of standouts, but you got to pick one. So it's tough, I know. But starting with you first, TJC, who would your player of the round be for round 14?
Look, it's tough for me, all right. It's tough for me. I feel like quite a few players shone this round. Not everyone may go with this, but I'll go with Sean Johnson from the New Zealand Warriors. I thought he was absolutely freaking epic this round, and by far, look, a few players come close, but for me, the way he just led that Warriors, team versus the Dolphins, and to score a double, he scored their only points for the first hour. He was ridiculously good for them. So, yeah, look. People, there's plenty of players you can pick, but I'm going to go with SJ, mate. Fucking amazing form this season.
Yeah, 100%. And Champa, who's your player of the round for round 14?
Mate, I'm going to piss off the critics. I'm going to piss off the haters. I'm going to piss off the South fans. I'm going to piss off the Bulldogs fans. James Tedesco proved those fucking critics wrong. Double. He scored a double, set up the tries, made the line breaks. Come on. You guys say he was out of form, out of touch, shouldn't be picked in an Origin side, and he came out there against the Bulldogs and fucking proved it. Proved the critics wrong. Bulldogs, and I'll give it to the Bulldogs, they were close in that match. Only 1 point the difference between those two teams. But James Tedesco came out there and he had one purpose, and that's to show these people why he's still the best player in the world. And I think he did that. So James Tedesco is my player of the round.
Very interesting because, yeah, I guess Teddy was very harsh. Well, not harshly, I guess, but was really criticised after going through Origin. Maybe a bit of it was too far, but I think now, seeing how he went against the Bulldogs, he had a great bounce back. So I'm happy for Teddy. I've always liked him as a player. But as for my, I guess, player of the round, I have to go with what TJC said. I think the way Sean Johnson played on Saturday, that goes to show to me that he deserves my player of the round. Like, the way he played against the Dolphins was like how Johnson was, I guess, 10 years ago. Like, that 2011 to 2014 Johnson type. I think that's how he sort of reminded me across that weekend. Like, when he runs, he's a very dangerous player. Like, he's going to run more. I know he's obviously getting a bit older, so his speed and I guess his skill is not the same as what it was a few years ago. But no, he's a threat. Like, when he takes on the line, he's a threat, and he showed why he's still, I guess, considered a player that is still valuable to a club, and obviously he's doing that for the Warriors. So SJ for me is my player of the round. But I'll tell you who goes close, and I mentioned it before, Semi Valame. I know he's a winger, and it's hard to, I guess, single out a winger when you compare it to like a 5'8" for a fullback that had like a really good round. But Valame had a great club debut. And I'll be honest, I never really rated Semi Valame before, but I think up until that game against the Storm yesterday, he showed why I guess he could be a first grader going forward. So fair shout to Valame there. Before we get into the topic, so I just want to look into the live chat and see the comments.
Let's go.
Player of the week for me, SJ. Yep, Fanatics agrees with that comment on SJ. Tedesco Johnson for sure. Yep. Champa said the same in the group chat last week. Yeah, I'm not going to CJ. I'm not going to deep dive into that or all that again. But
I knew he would have said something when I said Tedesco for my player of the round. Oh well, I still stand by it.
Well, agree to disagree, I suppose. But look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm guessing we should move on to this sort of part of the podcast now where the spotlight's on all that Champa, because he's going to express his thoughts about something he requested to talk about because of what happened on the Friday or Thursday. What was it again? I'm losing my mind. Was it Friday or Thursday?
Friday.
Yeah.
Started on Friday this round.
Yeah, Friday. That's it. So Champa, obviously, as you said before, controversy in that game against the Tigers and the Raiders game, and there was a call towards the end there where it really determined the result. Would you like to share with us your honest thoughts in that game?
I thought it was an amazing effort from the West Tigers to come back at the end, only to have it taken away from us at the end by 1 point. But that, for the NRL and for the bunker to once again come out after this round of footy and admit they get a call wrong, and coincidentally, it's against the West Tigers, it's fucking bullshit! You mean to tell me that Brooks literally gets pushed and can't even make a call on it? 100 different fucking cameras. We're looking at it from every single angle, and we still can't get one call right. What is the bunker fucking doing? Seriously, the referees need to have a fucking look at themselves. Again, something wrong from us again. How many times are we? Oh my, I can't even. I'm trying to find the right words to say, but I'm stumbling on my words because this has again happened to us. A game that we needed to win, that we could have won, but shit like this fucks us up. Sack the bunker. Sack the bunker. Again, sack the bunker. Once again, the NRL admits that they got a call wrong. Again, it was against the West Tigers. Oh my fucking God, give me strength. What do you boys think about that call? Give me your honest opinions.
Oh look, honestly, the push in the back, okay, that was wrong. I think that was a bad call, but in my opinion, when Isaiah Papali'i went for the legs of Fogarty, I think that was a call that, is worth a penalty in my opinion, because you can't target legs like that.
Well, if you look at the rule book, it was a penalty. Like, there's not a debate about that part for me. The debate is the fact that was a push. That was a push on Brooks. I feel for the Tigers fans right now, and I can't blame Champa for absolutely fuming, mate. Mate, you've lit a freaking fire on the bomb and it's exploded right in our faces.
Oh, I can understand the Papali'i one, go for the legs. I understand that. But Brooks literally got pushed and we get nothing out of it.
Well, it shows you the bunker's been dreadful the last few weeks, actually. The bunker has not been great this season compared to how we started it. It looked all right for the first few weeks, and then it's just gone off a hill.
Yeah, seems that way, doesn't it? But yeah, look, I think that was a bad call. I do think that push was a bad call, because we see many clubs get the rub the green there, and usually that is a penalties for that club, like the bigger clubs. But not to piss off more Champa, but maybe it's because it's the Tigers, and they're not going to prioritise them as a club that should get a penalty. So, I hate to think that.
What makes us different from any other club? Twice.
I don't know.
This is twice. This has happened to us. We've been robbed twice, and I guarantee it's not the last time. I'm going to be watching very carefully at every single Tigers game, every single call, and I'm going to make sure we get every single call right. The referees better be on their job 200% when they're refereed against us, because all our champ is watching, and I got a conspiracy going on. There's something against the West Tigers. What is it? Why do they hate us so much? Why do they want to rob victories from us? Do they not want to see us in the top 8? Do they not want to see us break the trail? 12 years. If we don't make the top 8, 12 years. And I can't take it anymore. For fuck's sakes, I've got a beard now. Last time I saw my team in the finals, I was in fucking year 4 in primary school.
Jesus Christ. Look, it's a long time between drinks. I'll say that. I mean, look, I was very young myself, and very, very young. Last time Tigers made the finals, but yeah, I don't know. I think that was a disgusting call. Like, 100% disgusting call with the whole Brooks one. The Papali'i one was fair enough in my opinion, though. But I don't know, the Tigers. I just look, obviously for the fans and for the club. Hopefully, there's some sort of, I guess, positivity to come for that club soon. But it's got to be hard being a Tigers supporter. Like, it's got to be hard, right? Very hard.
Mate, one of the toughest teams to support, I imagine, the freaking Tigers.
We had that game. We fucking had that game, man.
You had it. You made the unbelievable comeback, bro. It was impossible to come back, and you did it.
Oh, and look, that final effort where we came back, and look, I think Luke Brooks, he was the best on field for us, and he played one of his most amazing games that game. So, fuck. I hope we put in a better performance against the Titans this week, but fuck, we were hard done by again by the bunker, again by those bloody clowns up there. It's bloody. You know what? They've painted their faces. Zerky's music is going on up there. They're watching bloody Jim Carrey or bloody, I don't know, fucking Mr. Bean up there instead of watching the fucking game that's happening. They're probably up there and all the stuff in their faces with shit like that. Like, what do they start blowing whistles and bloody popping out fucking streamers every time they get a call wrong? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Not too sure, but I think whatever's happening up there is very sus. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you take those people up there too seriously, if I'm being honest. But you know, I will say lastly that I did the Tigers too. I tipped them to win this game. I was like, you know what? At Campbelltown Friday night, Tigers can win this one. I actually thought they could win that, but yeah, not the result I guess we were hoping for. But you know, we'll see how they go against the Titans now. All you can do now is turn your attention to the Titans game. So hopefully they're a lot better there. You can actually get a win. So we'll see what happens, eh? We'll see what happens, and everyone's having a good laugh in the live chat, it seems. So
yeah.
Oh, just gotta calm myself down now. But I had to let it out. That is fucking bullshit.
Don't worry, if it was Para, I'd do the exact same, and I'm sure Proenza would do the same if it was Manly.
Oh yeah, well you've seen mine before. They're not great. So
no.
Yeah. But Champa, I'd like to thank you for sharing your passionate thoughts in that game and your rant. I think we all do appreciate that. So thank you for sharing your honest thoughts in that.
Had to let it out, boys. I had to let it out.
No, don't blame me one bit. All right. We will get into the 5 topics now of the podcast. So the very first one, obviously, is the biggest thing going around right now. Nathan Cleary is injured. He's out for Origin game 2 and 3, and he's got a suspected hamstring injury. So yeah, left hamstring injury, not good at all. Don't know how Panthers will cope now. I mean, Panthers have obviously done the job without him before, but you know, I guess for 6 weeks, which is how long he's actually out for the hamstring injury. It's a long stint. I'll start with you first, TJC.
Right.
Nathan Cleary out for 6 weeks, and obviously that's a huge blow to Penrith. How much does this affect the Panthers and the Blues going forward, do you reckon?
Oh, massive. I mean, like the Blues, look, I'm not going to lie. It could be a blessing in disguise for the Blues. I'm not going to lie to you. I think bringing in somebody else could be good there. But when it comes to Panthers themselves, this is an absolutely dreadful thing to happen. He is their playmaker. He is their big guy. Honestly, while Luai's a great half, he's not Cleary. He's not Cleary. He's about for me, he's about a quarter of what Cleary is in a player. Cleary's absolutely ridiculously good, dude. And you know what? Being out for 6 weeks, they play some good teams in that time. I could see Panthers dropping a few points due to this loss. You know, like they play the Roosters, you know, who are going to be desperate for a win. They're going to be desperate for a win against the Panthers. And you got the Storm, you got the Cowboys who could be back. If the Cowboys are fully back oh God, I'm scared for that. Honestly, that's probably my opinions overall on it, bro. It's the worst case scenario.
Fair enough, bro. No, look, I think, obviously it's a huge blow for the Panthers and the Blues. So, but we will talk about the whole, I guess, who replaces Cleary in games 2 and 3 since he's out for the whole series. Champa, what's your thoughts on this one? Cleary being gone with a hamstring, it's huge, isn't it?
Oh, all right. Let me tell you this right now. It's bad news for the Blues, and it is bad news for the Panthers. The Blues, that's their playmaker. That's their halfback, all right? Has he had the best Origin career? Probably not, but you can't excuse the fact that he had some great games in Origin, and he is one of our best players. So we're gonna miss him during Origin. Who we're gonna have to replace him? Well, we'll get into that later. But in terms of Panthers, yeah, bro. Oh, Panthers fans. Look, they scraped out a win against the Dragons this week, but look, it gets harder from here. And you know, like what TJC said, Luai's great, but you know, he's only one half of the puzzle. The other half is Nathan Cleary. You take that puzzle out, and you're gonna have a huge space to fill. Do they bring in Kurt Force from the reserves? Probably that's the most likely thing. I rate Kurt Force, I think he'd have some great. This is going to be some great experience for him. Have some first grade experience because I do see him as a future starting halfback. But yeah, look, halfway through the season, you really see how teams are going to really end the season. No Cleary, and that's for 6 weeks. And look, Matty John said something good on a radio station. I think it was CEN radio. He said that look, you go with a hamstring injury, even though you come back after those 6 weeks, you do need still 1 month till you're fully able to run around, fully able to kick. So when he comes back, he ain't going to be 100%. Quite similar to Tom Trbojevic in many cases. He isn't going to be 100%. And look, I think Panthers, they have the talent to stay up the top. I'm not saying that they're going to fall. You know, Edwards, Luai, Fisher Harris, Leota, Crichton, they've got the talent to stay up the top. But Cleary, he's that, he's the engine in a car. You take that engine out, it's almost impossible to run at 100%. He's the one that runs the team. He's the one that he's the director. He's the playmaker. When the Panthers are looking to find a win out of nowhere, they turn to Nathan Cleary because he's one of their best players. He's one of the best players in the world, and Panthers are going to struggle very, very visibly. We're going to see it right now. We're going to see a different Panthers side without Cleary, and Blues. Well, they lose a top player. So, and with us 1 game down in Origin, it's not looking good for us at all.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And I guess losing a player like Cleary, who I guess, historically hasn't had the best sort of Origin, I guess, run or games he's played in Origin. But I think just whenever you think of Cleary, he's a big loss either way because he's the halfback and he's a player that can be so dominant when he's on. I know maybe for the Blues, there's a lot of options out there, which is great. And it's good that the Blues have players that can fill in his position. But as for Penrith, they've got a bit of a headache to sort of go through now because it's either going to be Kurt Force from reserve grade they'll go with, or they persist with Jack Cogger who played against the Dragons last night. So whatever they do, I'm sure they'll find something. But Cleary for 6 weeks is huge. Yep.
Do you think that they should have rested Cleary after Origin, or at least have him come off the bench? Because it's not really a coincidence him getting a hamstring injury right after Origin period.
No, it's not. I probably would have rested him because it's the Dragons, and Dragons that were never a chance of winning, in my opinion. They were close, but I think Penrith always had that extra class to win. But I would have rested Cleary and probably a couple others too. But at least Crichton, Toto, and Luai all got through their performances, and so was Yo in that. But it's a real coincidence, isn't it? Because that's the worry when a player is backing up from, I guess, an event like Origin and is playing next 4 or 5 days or 3 days after. There's always that potential risk of being another injury. So, unfortunately, that falls on Cleary. Don't know if that's because of Origin, but it might be because of the workload. But either way, losing him, it's just huge. I think for both Blues and Penrith. But my thoughts exactly to what you've both said there. I think losing him is huge for the Panthers and the Blues. And he's never had a hamstring injury before because I think his last big injury was back in 2021. That was a shoulder reconstruction, I think it was, and he missed a long time as well during that year. So, and then he came back and obviously Penrith won the grand final. But 6 weeks this time. It'll hurt Penrith, and I think that will affect their attack. But Penrith, we know how good they are, so I'm expecting them to handle it just as well.
Look, I think they should have rested Cleary in that game. It's against the Dragons, and it's not a game they needed to win. They're in the top 4. They're riding right now. I'm pretty sure they're in first, so they could have handled dropping a few players and just taking a loss. Like, it's not going to affect you guys, and you guys rest Cleary because playing halfback has a huge workload and it takes a lot on your body, and to do that twice a week. It's not healthy, and I think his body just took a toll on him, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, it must have. It must have. And I agree. I would have rested him as well, and I don't think Penrith would have been suffering that much if they did, to be honest. On to topic number 2, and this is news that I can't say I'm too surprised about, but it's sad as there was a lot of hype about him when he first came to the NRL. Oliver Gilder, who obviously was at the West Tigers first and came from the Super League to join the NRL and Tigers for an opportunity last year. Unfortunately, his first year at the Tigers sort of fell out of favour and moved mid-season to the Roosters for a little bit there. Then after the Roosters, the Dolphins signed him just for this year and next year, I think. But I think he's got homesick, and I think he's getting sick of not getting opportunities in the NRL. So Hull KR have signed him on a 3-year deal, I believe. And he returns home to England after a very disappointing stint in the NRL. I'll start with you first, Champa, as you obviously would remember Oliver Gilder at the Tigers. Are you shocked he's left the NRL and gone back to the Super League, or do you think that maybe he had another chance in the game? Like, what do you think about this whole Gilder moving back to England story?
Well, I'm not shocked at all. I saw this happening a mile away. Look, Gilder was good, and I watched his highlights. Yeah, he's a great player, but in terms of NRL standards, he was very average. I'll be honest. Look, I'm going to be honest right now. He was average. He was a good player. I'll be honest, but he was average, and I don't think he could handle the pace of NRL. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think the pace of NRL was something that he was used to. That's why he wasn't getting any starting positions at Tigers, at the Roosters, even at the Dolphins. There was just too much talent in front of him. And look, I reckon he'll go back to the Super League and he'll kill it for Hull KR. But look, I don't think the NRL was just meant for him. I think the pace of Super League is much more comfortable for him. Look, if he comes back after 2 or 3 years and signs with another team and gets a crack at the NRL again, I think that'd be great for him. He's definitely a player that's got a lot of talent, and if he would have started in the NRL, let's say a few years earlier, I reckon he could have been a mainstay player. But he just honestly every game. Look, he's had good games even at the Tigers. I watched him closely. He just looked out of touch. Couldn't keep up with the pace, and I just think maybe to move back to Super League is better for him mentally as well, because having to sit at 3 NRL clubs in the space of 3 years and it's still not working, it's probably taken a lot for him. And look, I think that just shows that Oliver Gilder just wasn't the player that was meant to be in the NRL. Like I said, 3 clubs in the space of 3 years, and he couldn't get starting positions at any of them. So it's just where we have to look at him and thought, well, let's be completely honest here. With all due respect, his career in the NRL, bit of a failure, in my honesty. But look, he'll go back to Super League, Hull KR, and I reckon he'll tear it up there. And I'd love to see him back. But Oliver Gilder just was not meant to be in the NRL.
Yep, sadly he wasn't, and it is a failure of NRL stint here. But as you said, hopefully he's back, and hopefully if he does come back, hopefully he's a bit better and has a better career path in NRL. But TJC, I'll get your quick thoughts on it. What's your thoughts about Oliver Gilder going back to the Super League? Are you surprised he went back, or do you think he should have stayed and maybe just got another opportunity elsewhere?
No, I'm not surprised. I feel like, as Champa said, 3 years, 3 teams, it just wasn't working out for him. He looked a little, I'll agree with Champa as well. He looked out of touch a lot of the time when he played. The pace of the NRL and the way that the game is played is very different to up in the Super League. I may not watch too much Super League compared to NRL, but knowing the way he plays, I think he could absolutely kill it for Hull KR. He could absolutely smash it for them, bro. I feel like he just needs to go back home, in my opinion. Overall, it was just a fail in the NRL. If he comes back and he does good, then so be it. But with the way his career was going now, Wayne Bennett was never going to give him an opportunity at the Dolphins, it feels. And, going to 4 teams in 3 years, that wouldn't be great, Yeah, I think he made the best decision overall for his career. You only get one, and it's quite short.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely. Look, it's just sad. Like, I really think it's sad because I've watched Oliver Gilder for a long time in the Super League, and when he was at Wigan and that, he had a great combination with players like John Bateman over there, and he was one of the best centers in the comp over there. So it is quite disappointing to see how he couldn't, I guess, recapture that same form in the NRL. But obviously the NRL is full of talent, and it's full of stacked talent. And I think if he found it hard to sort of, I guess, gel into that, I suppose, because he's a player that isn't. I don't know. He's not like skillful in terms of like strength wise and can bust tackles and stuff. He's more of a good, I guess, solid player with a bit of defense about him. But yeah, I think he couldn't handle the intensity of the NRL is what I'm trying to say. So maybe if he comes back, he'll be a lot better. But yeah, as for now, I think going back to the Super League is going to treat him and his family right. And I think, it's the best way to refresh and continue your career of rugby league. So, yeah, hopefully Gilda does come back either way, though. Oops, my bad. All right, on to topic number 3 now. And this is something that is very controversial. And I was a bit shocked to see this was how much he was getting. But yesterday's game between the Bulldogs and the Roosters, Joseph Suaalii has been charged with a raising of the knee. And he was running, just having a normal run. And he raised his knee into Reed Marnie, which gave him a concussion somehow. So, look, we've seen this before in the game. It's not a good thing at all to see, I guess, a player raise their knee in a tackle, especially, or if you want to be like a grub like Vunivalu and jump in the air with your knees first, then that's even worse. But I'll start with you first, Champa. I can see you nodding over there. What's your thoughts on this? This is very, very interesting news, this one.
All right, look, I know he's had experience. I know he's had a history of raising the knee when he goes into for runs. I think he did it to Kafusi against Tonga in the World Cup or something. But let me just say this. I've watched that run 100 times, and he did not raise that fucking knee. I'm being honest. Look, you guys might have your opinion, but I like to see, look, when you run, obviously your legs are going to be up. And you take a good look at Reed Marnie when he makes that tackle. His head is right where his legs are. He is going to cop a knee to the head, and it's his fault that he didn't place his head properly to make the tackle properly. Him getting concussed was on his part. I thought Suaalii when I saw that run and I saw Suaalii run over Marnie, I thought, geez, that's a fucking amazing run. That's a strong run right there. And then he cops 3 to 4, get match ban of it. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. NRL has gone soft. He did not raise that leg. I'm being honest right now. He did not raise that knee. I saw it 100 times. He did not raise that knee. Marnie just had his head in the wrong spot. And I thought that was an amazing run. I see nothing wrong with it whatsoever. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Interesting. No, interesting. Fair call. I guess the suspension itself is a bit of a, it's one that I think could be a little bit over the top, but yeah, I guess that's what the game's come up with, surprisingly. TJC, what's your thoughts on Suaalii raising the knee? Was this a fair suspension in your opinion?
Honestly, I'm going to disagree with Champa a little bit here. I do think that a suspension was necessary just based on the history of him, bro. I feel like he could have I don't know what I'd be blaming the Roosters coaches. Why aren't they teaching him to keep his legs down? Why are they telling him to constantly put them higher than his freaking head every time he runs?
Well, to be fair, he's running. Your knees are going to be up either way.
Fair enough, bro. Like, at the end of the day, I still think that it was over-exaggerated by the fact that Reed was ridiculously low on the ground going for his legs. The chances that he was going to cop a knee were quite likely. But the fact is that they could argue recklessness in the way he was running there. And the way that that the knee contacted the head, I would have gone for about 2 weeks myself, because I don't think there was anything particularly dirty in the way Suaalii was trying to play. I just think that he's a victim of just how it went out. Sometimes legal things hurt players. It's just the way our game goes. We've got a very, we're one of the roughest games in not just the country, the world. One of the roughest games that we got. So, yeah.
I need to have a look at this run again, because I cannot picture one moment where he lifts that knee and I
think it's the way it's pointed. I don't necessarily know where he's put it up. What I think, the way it's pointed into the head, he's moving his head into it though. So you could argue collision too.
I thought it was. Yeah. I thought that, in my honest opinion, Reid Marnie is in the wrong position. His tackling's all wrong, and Suwali cops the punishment for it. But we'll get to Pro Enzo and his thoughts.
Come on, Pro Enzo, let's go.
Look, when I saw the run and how it all happened, I will first say that Reid Marnie did tackle very low because there seems to be a bad case of players that these days they do tackle way too low towards where their knees, and it's not smart to tackle like that because obviously you're going to get knocked out or suffer some sort of concussion. So that's on Marnie. But looking at how Suwali's done things like this before, and I know it wasn't a complete knee, like up high, it wasn't really completely that, but he still raised it to a max where I feel like that was intentional. So I will say that he did, know what he was doing there. I think he deserves a ban from that.
It may be a bit much what they've given him, bro. Maybe a bit much.
Okay, let me just ask you boys this. How are you supposed to run into players that are tackling low then? If your knee cops them in the head, how? Are you supposed to stop right when you see someone drop low? Or do you keep running?
Yeah. I don't know. The way I saw him run, he sort of did charge the knee to Marnie because he lifted it to a point where it was like, you don't run with your knees that high. Like, there's no way, I don't reckon anyway. So I saw it from that way. But I guess it's not the suspension that I believe it should be given. I think 2 weeks is fair enough. Like Nick said in the chat, I think 2 weeks is the fair suspension because 3 to 4 weeks is what I'd give for maybe like a, I don't know, high tackle these days. Or
exactly, and it was nowhere near. It was nowhere near that bad.
All right, yeah. You want to know my honest opinion, and you guys might think I'm a crazy right now, but I think he deserves no punishment whatsoever.
Right.
He did not lift that knee. He ran. It just accidentally got Marnie in the head. I mean, what are you supposed to do? He's tackling so low and his head's literally directly facing his legs.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to get the punishment if he can't tackle properly?
Look, I think Marnie is at fault for tackling that low, but the way Suwali lifted his leg is obviously raised it. I feel like he raised it anyway. Because
don't think he was thinking enough when he did it, honestly. Just my own thoughts on it. I haven't watched it a few times.
I mean, I understand he did that for momentum to run, but he knew
he deserves a punishment. So,
yeah, 2 weeks is what I give, but 3 to 4 weeks is ridiculous. But look, we'll just move on because this is a very controversial topic, I believe.
It is
controversial.
It's very, very controversial.
I thought that was the Blues. We're taking to the Blues now, so we will talk about Brad Fittler and his coaching position, I say. So, look, obviously, there's a lot of talk recently that he should be making way as the Blues coach, and there should be a replacement by maybe next year. I don't know if that should be the case because we need to see how he goes this series, as we only just lost one game only so far. But there's a lot of calls for Brad Fittler to be kicked off as Blues coach. I'll start with you this time, TJC. Should Brad Fittler be in this position where his future's in doubt of being the Blues coach or not?
Look, it's definitely a controversial thought. I think a lot of people could go either way here, but honestly, I think that you guys, based on just how some of the questionable decisions he makes, I honestly think he clearly has his favourites. He's lost way more series than he's won. I would probably be questioning it, and I would, if I was him, consider stepping down. If you lose game 2, it doesn't feel like I just don't get a good feeling about it for you guys. That again, I'd personally love for you guys to keep him. Be a big fan of it, but yeah, dude, it's honestly, as a Queensland supporter, I probably shouldn't be saying on it.
Yeah, look, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough one because I think Freddie knows and has an idea on a few things, but as of recent, his calls have been not that great. But Champa, as a fellow New South Wales Welshman yourself, what do you think about this one, bro? Should he be in jeopardy for his coaching role or not, in your opinion?
All right, let me just get this real quick. Sorry. Yeah. Is his coaching role in jeopardy? Well, I hope not. Keep in mind this. Keep in mind this. Freddie Fittler, since 2005, was the only New South Wales coach to win more than one series. The only other coach to win that series was Laurie Daly back when we broke the drought. And he went on a losing streak after that. Freddie has won more Origins since anyone since 2005. And you mean to tell me you want to drop this guy over what? Over one bad game? We lost the series last year, and we should have won. Of course, you can't win them all. Keep in mind, yes, does Freddie Fittler have his favorites? Yeah, of course. But he is one of the best NRL minds that we've had in a long time. I'd say ever since probably Tommy Rodonigus. When it comes to Blues coaches, obviously he has his favorites, and yeah, he can be a bit biased, and that sometimes pisses me off as well. But keep in mind, this guy knows how to win a series more than once, and we're supposed to drop this guy if we lose this series. I say have faith in Freddie, because we haven't been this dominant since we won this series back. I think it was 2013 or 14 we broke the drought. 2014 when we broke the drought. I mean, and what, we want to drop this guy already? Give it time. Give it loyal, like just be loyal to Freddie for a bit and give him and have faith in him. All right? And keep in mind, if I'm looking at anyone to blame for game one's loss, I'm looking at the players. They just looked so fucking out of it. They had no urgency to win that series, and Queensland were 110% in their game. So look, I think Freddie. Look, every coach has his faults, and I think Freddie should probably, think clearly instead of choosing, Penrith players all the time. But have faith in him, man. Like we weren't winning series before Freddie. We were losing, and we only won one series, and that was with Laurie Daly. One with Freddie, we've won more than two. We've won like three. Have faith in him. That's all I have to say.
No, look, fair enough. I think that's a fair response. And, I want to back Freddie as well. I want to back Freddie because I do think that he's done a lot for the state as he, first started in 2018. And look, not many coaches have won back-to-back sort of series in a while. Well, especially in this era, there's not many. And Brad Fittler winning the back-to-back series in 2018 and 19, that's pretty special. And no one can discard that or forget that, because that was a moment that I'm sure will live through the memories of many Blues fans for a long time. But, I think, I guess he hasn't worked out in some ways with some selections and maybe some ideas he's given already. I'd still keep him for now. But if they do fail the next two games, games 2 and 3, then I think there's a chance he may get the axe. But I think the real test is who he picks at halfback for the Blues for games 2 and 3 with Cleary out. And Murray's out too for a long time. So he's got to really focus and think about how he's going to handle them two losses, because Murray and Cleary are two of the Blues' best players, and losing them two is just a heap of quality gone, I'd say anyway. So how he handles that as a coach will be interesting. That determines to me of the way he thinks and the way he can hopefully show that he is the right man still, and how he, I guess, handles those losses there.
Look,
but
have faith in Freddie is what I have to say. All right, we haven't had a coach. We haven't had a coach's dominance in a long time. Okay, have faith in Freddie.
I've got faith in Freddie. I think I'll back him for now. But yeah, as Nick says in the chat, if we get swept, sack him. Yeah, I think I would. I'd sack him.
You can't lose free Origin games, bro. You can't lose every game of the series.
Well, think about this. If we ask Freddie, where do we go after this? What coach do we look to fill in Freddie's shoes? What, we're just gonna pick Shane Flanagan or something? I can't see him as an Origin coach.
Nah.
Well, look, there's options out there, but luckily there's a lot of New South Wales coaches out there. But for now, I'd back Freddie. But it's only if something goes like really wrong during this series, like losing both games 2 and 3. That's when I sack him, I reckon, personally. But I think for now we'll go back in for game 2, because this is a sudden death game, and obviously going to Suncorp's not easy, especially with the Maroons coming off that win in Adelaide. So, yeah, we'll get behind Freddie as much as possible, I'd say. But hopefully he's able to steer us to a win. All right. And last but not least, the very debatable topic here, because this is something that everyone's discussing and everyone's thinking about, because who the hell will be the new Blues halfback now, because Cleary's gone. And obviously there's options out there. Like, I can think of players like Hines that could maybe step in and give it a run at halfback, because he's been touted by most people as the halfback that should partner Luai in the halves. There's Adam Reynolds, who's a great option out there too. His experience and has shown before he can do it in big games. Then there's guys like Cody Walker that could step in there. There's Mitchell Moses, which I don't know about. Jackson Hastings could be the last option of everyone, but I would have a look at him if I'm being honest. But who the hell will be the Blues halfback? Who knows? But I'll start with you first, TJC. Based on how Cleary's gone and stuff like that, in your opinion, who I know you're a Queenslander, but who would you pick as your Blues halfback?
Yeah, I'll put my bias aside here and just be honest. I think he's going to go with Hines personally, but if I was going to take a risk here, I'd probably go with Reynolds and then move Hines possibly to 5'8" personally, but that's just me. I feel like, as we've mentioned a few times to each other privately, Hines and Luai in a lot of ways are kind of similar in the way they kind of do things. Obviously, Hines is much better, in my opinion, but I think Hines could do a job at 6 personally, and I don't see... He only got 10 minutes game one. I don't think he got the opportunity to show what he can really do. The only question is Luai was one of the better players for the Blues, so dropping him would feel very, very harsh, unless...
Would be.
Maybe you go Hines 14, Luai to 6, and then you put Reynolds as a 7.
I like that.
What do you think, guys, of that?
I like that.
I think that could work, because Hines can play the 9, he can play the fullback, he can play the halfback, and Luai, let's face it, he's more of that 5'8" than any other position. I get he can kind of play 9, but he's more 5'8" for me. And then, it's no stranger to a 9 playing 80 minutes. Appy did all right doing it game 1. So
yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did all right. Like, honestly, even though you lost, he did decent. So, yeah, that's probably my answer for it, bro. Going, non-biased.
Yeah, no, fair enough. For Queensland, that's a good response, I think. And Champa, who would you pick as your opinion on the Blues halfback with Cleary out? Like, who would you pick?
Well, look, I am really on the fence here to how you make this spine, and this is why I have to give credit to Freddie, because he's got a huge headache on his plate right now and trying to figure out what the hell does he do with his halves and his spine. Everyone's throwing Reynolds' name around, and I would not complain if Reynolds got that Origin spot. Does he deserve it? I think he fucking deserves it. He's taken Broncos to the top 4. It's just when you move somebody into the halves who hasn't been training with the squad since the start of, let's say, the Origin period, and he's got less than 2 weeks to try and understand how everything goes and to really pull a miracle out of his ass and keep New South Wales' Origin hopes alive, I don't see it happening. You see, when you got 2 halves, they need to be training with each other at the start of training. They know each other's game well. They know the plays. They know the combinations. It means the flow of play doesn't get disrupted. And if I'm being completely honest, Reynolds and Luai, God, I don't think it works. I mean, we all know how the Rabbitohs feel about the Panthers. A little rivalry going on there, and Luai has been very, let's say, a bit of a headache towards South, and Reynolds was there in those periods, and I just don't think they'll get along, in my opinion. The safest option would be probably Hines and Luai, but I think this is where I understand the argument of we need somebody with experience in the Blues to save us, and I think Reynolds is the man. I just don't know who he pairs him with. Do you pair him up with Cody Walker? That's probably the safest combination there, but you can't drop Luai. I mean, you cannot drop Luai. You can't drop Luai for thinking he might have a shit game without Cleary. I mean, that's just unfair. And he has proven before. He has proven before he can play without Cleary. I mean, he took Samoa into the World Cup finals, so he can play without Cleary. Honestly, if I'm going to be honest right now, I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know who to choose. I seriously do not know who to choose because there is so much options that have their pros and they also have their cons. And I'm looking at this team right now and I'm just thinking, I don't know who to go. Do you go Hines Luai? Do you go Reynolds Luai? Do you go Reynolds Hines? Do you go Reynolds Walker? Do you go Hines Walker? I don't know. Do you throw Cook in the team so he can play so Reynolds and Walker can play off Cook? What happens? Seriously, I don't know. And this is where I really hope Freddie makes the right decision because it's a very shit time to lose Cleary when we're 0-1 in the Origin series because this game right now determines if we have a chance or not. So, fuck. That's my answer. I don't know. I seriously, I thought I had the answer with Hines Luai. That was originally going to be my answer until I took time to think about it and took time to think, well, mate, yeah, Reynolds, he has the experience. We need a kicker, which is one thing. We definitely need a fucking kicker, which Reynolds is. But then do you pair him up with Luai? I don't think Reynolds and Luai is going to work. So that's my answer. I don't know. I am lost. I don't know who to choose.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like it's very tough. A lot of combinations out there you can think of that could work and may not work. And I hope it does work, the combination that Freddie does pick, because it's important that the Blues, or Freddie, who's a selector, picks the best combination possible, and hopefully it's a combination that gets us the win game too. But I don't know, it's very tough because, all right, first of all, I'm not dropping Luai. No way I'm dropping Luai. I think the way he played in game one was a performance that keeps players like him and gets recognised for good games like that. So you don't drop one of the best players in a losing side like that. But as for who I'd have as the halfback, like I've been thinking about for a while now, I think Adam Reynolds is the guy for me. I think Hines is a fair option because I think Hines, has been patient for a while now, and he's, been one of the most dominant number sevens for the past, I guess, 2 to maybe more years. And, if he played a halfback, I'd back him because I think he'd be good there. But I think Hines and Luai for me are a bit too similar. I think they're both running players, and I think you need that guy who can organise a team. And I think the Hines has that more capability of organising a team other than Luai, but I don't see Hines as a director. Like that's how I see it. But as for Reynolds, I think he's obviously the Broncos captain for a reason, Ben South's captain for a reason. He's obviously been in many grand finals for a reason. And I'd say he's a big part of the reason why the Broncos have revived for the past, I guess, 2 years. So I think he's the man for the job. And, he's playing at Suncorp too. And he's got a great track record with Suncorp. It's his home ground now as at the Broncos. So it's perfect, I think, because I think Reynolds and Luai would work well. I know, I guess there could be some friction from the 2021 grand final between Luai and Reynolds. But, look, I think they'll be on the same page about wanting to win this game too. So there's no way I don't see them having that sort of friction anymore because it's a must-win game for the state. So I think they'll be all good with that. But I'd go with Luai and Reynolds. I think that's my hardest combination going forward. But
I took some time to think about what you just said right now, and thinking that we do need a running player in Luai, and we need a director and someone who can organise like Reynolds. And look, with Hines also coming off the bench, I might have to go with Reynolds Luai. I think that's the right. That's it. I've locked it, and that should be the halves combination coming in.
You should have Hines on the bench for emergency, kind of, in case it doesn't work.
Exactly. Because you get the best. You get Luai. He'll do his flashy steps. He'll do his dummies. He'll make the line breaks, and you have Reynolds. He'll control the kicking game, the passing game, and we need a goal kicker. Reynolds is perfect for that. So. And look at that. You get Reynolds, and you have Latrell Mitchell in the center. Look, you have Latrell playing off Reynolds. Gosh, come on. You gotta love
It's,
it.
they'll know how it works, guys.
They'll know how it works. They'll know how it works.
That's
Why am I laughing? I'm the one this is going to be against.
Well, that's a big inclusion as well, Latrell Mitchell. So
huge. Yeah, look, absolutely huge with Latrell back. But I guess we'll see what happens in game 2. But that does wrap up the episode 61 of the Ankle Breaker podcast. Awesome episode. Love talking about what we talked about tonight. And bring on the next one next Monday. TJC, great to have you on again as a guest, mate. Do appreciate your time, and Champa, as always. Thank you again for being here for another podcast episode. Thank you very much, boys. It was a good show, wasn't it?
Oh, that's probably one of the best shows we did. That was amazing.
I loved it. I loved being here, dude. It was a good time.
No, it was a good show, and thank you to everyone that's been watching since the very start. Do appreciate it, and look, if you haven't already, please go and check out the YouTube channels of both TJC Sports and All That Champa, both linked in the description down below. Both of them on the rise and getting better with content, hopefully. So yeah, go and check them out if you haven't already. But until then, wraps up episode 61 of the podcast. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next Monday. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.